Sleep. We fall into it, drift through it, and sometimes fight to find it. But how much do we really know about what happens after we close our eyes? Why do we dream? What happens when sleep escapes us? And how powerful is the mind when it feels like it's switched off? Tonight, I'm taking you hour by hour through the night, from the moment your head hits the pillow to the second your alarm pulls you back. Each hour, a new discovery, a deeper layer of the sleeping mind. I'm Jessica Fry, and I'm on a mission to unpick the pillow talk and uncover the secrets our subconscious has been hiding under the covers. If you can hear my voice, you're awake, for now at least. But don't get too comfortable. This is where the real night shift begins.
Well, sleep is really essential for every aspect of our waking lives. We know that it's important for healing, for restoration of function, our cognitive function, our brain. So really, without sleep, everything goes to pot.
Getting sufficient sleep is associated with a lower risk of depression, anxiety, heart disease, certain type of cancer, dementia, diabetes, stroke. It's a huge list. Like, getting a good quality night's sleep regularly is like a superfood. It's like taking the best supplement you could possibly take, but you can't control it.
I suspect that if you stayed awake forever, you would die. Not only sleep, but our dreams are actually important in our physiological health, our emotional and mental health.
Hour 1, the body and the brain. Sleep feels like switching off, but behind closed eyes, your brain is hard at work. As you drift off, your body cycles through light sleep, deep sleep, and rapid eye movement sleep, often referred to as REM sleep. This loop repeats roughly every 90 minutes throughout the night and is governed by our internal 24-hour clock, known as circadian rhythms. But what's the point of these stages, and how does the body respond differently during each one? Dr. Lindsay Browning, psychologist and neuroscientist, helps uncover what's really going on when we fall asleep.
Would you be able to explain what the difference of the stages of sleep are?
So as you're falling asleep, you go into light sleep, which is made up of N1 and N2. N1 is the lightest light sleep and N2 is the deeper light sleep. And at this stage, your heart is starting to slow down. Your brainwaves are slowing down as well. You're sort of transitioning into the deepest part of sleep. And in deep sleep, we have the slowest and biggest, called delta waves. Our brain basically is pulsing, but we think that deep sleep is especially important for things like producing our growth hormones. And we also think it's involved in regulating our immune system, for example. And then REM sleep, the rapid eye movement sleep, that's especially important. That's where we tend to dream most frequently, and that's important for sort of emotional processing. And we think that that's a lot to do with learning and memory formation of different kinds of memory. The whole of our sleep is when we do regulate our hormones that control food, for example, ghrelin and leptin. There's a thing called our cerebrospinal fluid, which is this fluid in our spine. And during sleep, channels open up to our brain to allow that cerebrospinal fluid to physically wash over our brain. And what it does is it washes away amyloid plaques, which are these kind of sticky substances that sort of build up in the brain. And people with Alzheimer's have a build-up of amyloid plaques. People who don't sleep enough, their brain isn't doing that cleaning, leading to a build-up of amyloid plaques. And we think that not sleeping enough is linked to Alzheimer's, potentially through that process.
But what if sleep feels impossible?
Insomnia means a difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. And the typical causes of that, the most common one really is stress and anxiety. And I find insomnia is the sort of the obsession, almost like a phobia of not sleeping.
Hour 2, insomnia.
I just don't want to live when I get like this, and it's only just gone 11 and I've got the rest of the evening to deal with it. This is hell. 2 o'clock, the pills have helped me be less restless and stop my mind racing, but they don't help me sleep. Normally I'm crying my eyes out by this time. There's no way I can sleep. I just don't understand.
What you just heard were extracts from Shelley Dorfman's sleep diary, a glimpse into the mind of someone who hasn't had a full night's rest in over 30 years.
It just started very slowly. A couple of hours, I'd get up. It just very, very slowly progressed to I can go without sleep now. For the first 5 or so years, I just didn't really think about it.
And then did you start to think, oh, this actually isn't that normal, this is starting to...
I started feeling a bit rough, so I went to the doctor.
How does insomnia affect your day-to-day life?
Well, for instance, yesterday I couldn't do anything. I just stayed in bed all day and watched telly. I just couldn't function. I get good and bad days. I might get 1 to 2 days a week where I'm okay and I just go for it. I do everything I possibly can on those days because I know other days I'm completely out of it and there's no life.
So have you tried any medications, anything helped you?
No, when you first go to Dr. Insomnia, they classify you as a mental illness, even though I've never been classified like that before. So you go on antidepressants and they actually made me a lot worse because they actually make you feel like you have got something wrong because they framed you with this label. And I'm completely puzzled because a lot of people do know what causes it. And I'm praying, I just wish I knew. I can't, nothing's wrong.
69-year-old Sue Devereux is a veterinary surgeon. At night, she feels waves of adrenaline flooding through her body, keeping sleep out of reach.
I will reach out and put the light out, take my glasses off, put my book down, and sometimes I'll go to sleep, and other times within seconds of putting the light out, that's it. The adrenaline is racing around my tummy. It's swirling down my legs, down to my toes, back up to my head. It gets so stressful because it really is powerful surges of anxiety and adrenaline. And I can lie there with this and think, what is it? Why is it happening? What am I worried about? The answer's nothing.
The feeling of adrenaline, do you ever feel that in your day-to-day life, like during the day, or do you only ever feel that kind of adrenaline when you're going to sleep?
Never. No, it's much worse than anything like that. Yeah.
You obviously got experience of feeling adrenaline, so your most heightened adrenaline experience to be felt when you're in your bed is really interesting.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. This is like all-consuming. There are times where I can't stay in bed. I've just got to get up to escape from it. It's what it does to in your head that's really unpleasant. I mean, the lack of understanding why you should be like this, what it is. When you can't find a reason, you just think, why?
So in 3 words, could you describe what it feels like to have insomnia, if you can narrow it into 3 words? I know it's
hell, suicidal, trauma.
Inconvenient, stressful, and almost painful.
Hour 3. Dreams and the unconscious.
I'm Jane Teresa Anderson. I'm a dream analyst, a dream interpreter, a dream therapist. Our dreams tell us about our unconscious mind. And by definition, our unconscious mind is stuff that we're not conscious of. Our dreams can tell us about the emotions that we repress, our real feelings that we try not to let show, the programming and beliefs that we've taken from our upbringing that we don't think we've got, but they still work away at us. So our dreams show us this other side of ourselves, this unconscious self that is so rich and can help us so much in our life.
Why do we dream? Could it be the brain's way of sorting through the chaos? Or is there something deeper happening whilst we are asleep?
When you go to sleep, your dreaming mind's job is to process the last 1 to 2 days of all your conscious and unconscious experiences to try to make sense of your world. So it's a little bit like updating your mindset. So you're supposed to wake up in the morning with an updated mindset. Oh, I've got a much clearer perspective of what life is about. And in an ideal world, you would wake up and look at that dream and explore it to understand more about yourself so that you can then make good decisions. So in that way, it is like your own inner therapy, but you do have to look at the dream to really get that.
So what would happen if we didn't dream, if we didn't go through this counselling session overnight? Would we force ourselves to dream to kind of go through that in our conscious?
When experiments have been done with animals to enable them to sleep, the amount of time they're supposed to sleep, but stop them from dreaming, which they do by putting electrodes in the brain, within a very short time, the animals get very sick and die. We know that not only sleep, but our dreams are actually important in our physiological health, our emotional and mental health. So we need dreams to be alive.
This might just be a personal thing, but I used to have a lot more nightmares as a child than I did as an adult, which I think is a bit strange because I think you have a lot more stress on you as an adult, and a lot more anxious, and I think you're a lot more aware of your emotions as an adult. So do you know if there's a reason why we have more nightmares as a child than as an adult?
That's just your experience, but it's a common experience. And there's a couple of key things you said there. One thing you said was, as an adult, I'm more aware of my emotions. So straight up, I'm more aware of my emotions. If you were unaware of your emotions, you probably have more nightmares because you're pushing those emotions down. I don't have those emotions, and your dreams go, but you do. You feel this, you feel that, so you're more aware of your emotions. The other one is that even though we feel it to be true that as an adult we live more stressful lives, as a child, if you rethink about being a child, every day is so full of change. The world is so different. It's enormous. You haven't built up enough understanding of the world to, you think the world is your bedroom, or it's your house, or it's your parents, and every day there's new things happening that push you out there. So actually children experience so much change, and that can be so scary, which is why they have a lot of nightmares.
Sometimes dreams feel so real. But what about when they almost do become real? When you feel awake, but the world around you is still bending to dream logic?
So a lucid dream is when you suddenly realise that this is a dream, and I know that I have another life, and you kind of feel like you're in two realities at the same time. And at that point, you can, if you want, you can either just step back and say, this is going to be really interesting, I'm just going to watch this dream because it's amazing, or you can take control. The most exciting thing is when you wake up and you think about it, you think, if I believe in my dreaming reality so much, and then I believe in this waking reality, which is the real one? Is there another one? When I die, is there another one?
So how can we be so awake, yet so asleep at the same time? Dr. Guy Leshner is a neurologist and Professor of Sleep Medicine at Guy's and St Thomas's Hospital in London. He's also the author of several best-selling books, where he shares some of the most remarkable sleep stories from his clinic.
Yeah, I remember somebody who was alleged to have cut their own throat in their sleep.
Hour 4. Parasomnias.
So we tend to think of sleep as affecting the whole brain, but actually what we know is that it's not at all impossible for different areas of the brain to exist in different stages of sleep and wake. And so what we see in sleepwalking, for example, is that the parts of the brain that are responsible for movement, for vision, for emotion, are often awake, whilst other areas of the brain, particularly the frontal cortex, which is where most of our reasoning, our rational thinking, our planning occurs, remain in very deep sleep. And it's that discordance between the different parts of the brain that results in these kinds of events.
Do you know what causes that?
Well, we think it's just a glitch in the system, and that some people are genetically more likely to enter into that state when their deep sleep is disrupted by something. But we think that it's primarily a genetic glitch.
Jackie, one of Dr. Leshner's patients, experienced sleepwalking extremes. Her neighbour began to notice something bizarre. In the middle of the night, Jackie was calmly putting on her motorcycle helmet, zipping up her jacket, and riding off into the darkness. Eventually, the bike wasn't enough. She started driving her car, all while sound asleep. Dr. Leshner believes cases like Jackie's reveal something we still don't fully understand. A state that sits somewhere in between. Not quite awake, not quite asleep.
To ride a motorbike or to drive in your sleep like Jackie did is pretty rare. But we know that some people can perform some very, very complex things in their sleep. And I think that this really reflects the fact that these kinds of phenomena are a spectrum. So there are some individuals who will literally just sit up in bed, will perhaps say something, and then will go back to sleep. There are other individuals that will just wander around the room. And then at the other extreme are individuals like Jackie, who can drive her car or ride her motorbike in her sleep.
So this might sound a bit silly, but she can see.
Yep.
You think like the light would wake her up, her eyes being open, and things like that.
But we know that in sleepwalking, sometimes even severe pain doesn't result in termination of the sleepwalking event. Actually, similarly, even while you and I are talking, there is some evidence that parts of our brain are dipping in and out of sleep whilst we're fully awake. And in fact, that is one of the proposed mechanisms for why, when we're doing a task for a prolonged period of time, we experience fatigue, our performance declines as we're performing that task repeatedly. Because actually, when you tire out the cerebral cortex, the outer lining of the brain that is involved in doing that task, those little areas of sleep get bigger and more prolonged.
Just checking you're still with me. Michelle Kramer-Borderman, lead investigator at Sleep Forensics Associates, operates where sleep science meets the justice system. He's an expert in sleep-related crimes, cases that unfold while the rest of us are fast asleep.
His new wife was complaining she'd wake up at 2 a.m. and he's like standing beside her bed staring at her with a zombified look. I look at the video and this guy rips off all the electrodes off his scalp. I mean, he kind of gets up in like a sleep terror. I showed him the video and he goes, "Do you remember this?" He goes, "No, I don't remember any of this." And then I also asked him, I said, "Did you feel any pain?" He goes, "No, I didn't feel any pain." Probably about a year or so later, I get a call from the public defender saying, I have a client here who's accused of homicide. I said, "Tell me more." It was this guy. He killed his wife.
I asked the questions you're already thinking.
So how can you actually prove someone was asleep during the moment? Because say throughout my life, I've had parasomnias and I heard about these cases of people committing crimes while they were asleep. And I thought, well, I can get away with this, but I'll just say I'm asleep because I've had parasomnias before.
I can never prove that that is what occurred in a particular case. Even if I do a sleep study and I do a sleep study in a laboratory and the individual's acting out violently, it only proves that they're a sleepwalker, but it doesn't temporally tag them to the event.
Do you think someone should legally be held responsible for what they do in their sleep? Do you think these people are dangerous people, or do you think they are just people who have these switching errors?
These are behaviors that are not under conscious control for which they are not aware. In general, these behaviors are uncharacteristic for the individual for their true, sober, wakeful self.
Surely something in your brain is telling you, no matter how you act in your awakened life, something in your brain is telling you to do this stuff.
I'm averse to the use of desire because desire is tying into kind of an emotional prerequisite, and there isn't it. This is an electrical switching error. There's a lot of commonality between parasomnias and seizures. You have an electrical storm that cannot be held under control, very similar to parasomnias. There has nothing to do with desire. It's all electrical stimulation that elicits this.
There is a second case that is stuck in Michelle's mind.
It was a 14-year-old who killed his mother. On a particular night, one of the sons was sleepwalking with a loaded weapon, and the mother had just finished doing laundry, sees the son, and triggers this kind of defensive posture where he just fires a bullet and striking her. I actually defended him, and he was acquitted of killing his mother.
We spend a third of our lives asleep, and yet it might be the part of us we understand the least. Maybe that's the mystery worth holding on to.
Sleep well.
Sleep well.
Sleep well.
Sleep well.